Natania Reuben, happy to have you on the platform.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Yes, indeed. So before we get into your story, introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, I'm Natania Reuben. I am a mother. I am a widow. God rest my husband's soul. I am a lover of art. I have a reupholstery business. I'm a life insurance agent. I am a woman of many things. I call myself a Renaissance woman. I do many things. I have lots of skills and gifts, and I'm thankful to the Most High for them all. I'm also a victim survivor. I like to call myself a survivor. I was a victim of a shooting that night in the club, December 27th, 1999, shot in the face by Sean Puffy Combs. I was an innocent bystander. There's this notion online, what you did to make him shoot you? Nothing. But not that I or anybody deserved it. I was an innocent bystander, but I am a survivor. 24-year survivor.
So with that being said, right, if you don't mind, can you give me a play-by-play of everything that took place when you got shot by Diddy at the nightclub?
Okay, I can say I was at a girlfriend's house. We hung out for the holiday. My kids were spending Christmas with my grandmother. Uh, Everybody decided, I had decided against going initially because I'd gotten saved, so I wasn't really out and about. But my girlfriends were like, come on, come on. One of our girlfriends, her name is Big Stacy. She's a party promoter in the New York City area. And I decided, I'm going to go to support Stacy because we're friends and we supported each other in our endeavors. So I went out to support her promoting her own party that was at New Year's Eve. I wasn't going to go to the New Year's Eve party, so I went ahead after Christmas and went with them to the party. We were getting dressed. I didn't really have any clothes to go out over there. Like I said, I hadn't been going out. And so I was going to go home to get clothes. And they were all saying, come on, Eb. Everybody calls me Ebony for short. Come on, Eb, don't go home. If you go home, you're not going to come back. And they were probably right. If I went all the way home to the section of Brooklyn I lived in, I wasn't going to come back. So my girlfriend said, why don't you wear one of my outfits? So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to wear your outfit. I'll go to my sister's house. Went to my sister's house, got an outfit to wear, came back because it was relatively close in the same section of Brooklyn, Crown Heights. I came back and I was getting myself together to go. They had already complained that I was taking too long. I took too long. So they were already moving out of the door down to the car. In my foray towards the front door, I was putting my earring in, and my girlfriend Kelly, whose house we were at, had a big Rottweiler named Brick. Brick jumps up, stands fully tall, and puts his feet on my back, on my shoulder, and it knocks my earring out of my hand. The earring falls, goes under the fish tank that broke earlier that week. And so there were still little pieces of glass under there. So when I went to get my earring, cut my finger. Just all these little things trying to stop me from going out of the door. I go clean my finger, I get the piece of glass out, I clean it, I wrap it, put on a Band-Aid, put my earring in. As I reach the threshold, they're blowing the horn, telling me to hurry up. I step 1 foot across the threshold and a voice says, go change your shoes. Now, I knew it was God. God talks to me all the time. So I was like, if I change my shoes, I have to change all of my accessories. And God just repeated, go change your shoes. Now, I'm a stiletto girl. I would stand up in my beauty salon in stilettos for hours and hours on end. This particular day, I had on short ankle boots. I'm not a flats kind of girl. I don't really wear flats. Well, now I do. But back then I did not. Those boots that I had on were flats. The heel was probably just about this big, and they were ankle boots, some snakeskin ankle boots. And I went back and I changed the boots. The boots I changed into, I had just bought them a month earlier around Thanksgiving from Bloomingdale's. And there's a story behind it. But what I had a girlfriend named Pat, whose sons were like the neighborhood guys that watch your back and all of that and kind of they're on the block. She asked me for a favor. I did her hair. She came back and paid me at a later date and gave me a gift card to Bloomingdale's. I took that gift card, went to the store, bought these boots. So this is bigger than just change your boots. It was an act of faith and an act of love for a friend that was repaid to me. I took that act of love that was repaid, went and bought a pair of boots, and those boots saved my life. I put those boots back. I went and put those boots on. which had a heel on them, went down to the car. We went off to the club. They were complaining, you took so long, you're taking so long, we were going to leave you. We laughed it off. We got to the club. We pull up to the block, and there are 2 ambulances at the front of the block as you turn the corner, halfway in the street and halfway on the sidewalk on each side, narrowing the stream of traffic to 1 lane. And I instantly said, 2 ambulances? Are they expecting somebody to die? What is this? Because I had never, ever seen that at a club or at this club. And it just stood out as so weird to me. My friends were like, I had just gotten saved. So they were like, oh, come on, hallelujah. Don't start with all that, making their jokes. You know how it is. I'm from New York. We got thick skin. I'm not bothered by it, but it stood out to me instantly. It was a very cold day. So when we got to the front of the club, there were lots of people outside. And anyone who's familiar with the club scene knows, especially a club that's considered popping, they're always going to leave some degree of a line outside so that the additional people who arrive think, oh, wow, look at all these people. It must really be jumping. It's just a whole marketing thing for the nightclub scene. It's what they do. So there were tons of people outside. We pulled up to we got out, we went in front of the club, and so many people. I can say that I was relatively popular, and I knew so many people out there. And everybody kept saying, Ab, what you doing here? I thought you was in the church. I thought what you coming to preach a sermon? People were making jokes and stuff like that. And I thought it was funny. We laughed. And I was like, no, I'm just out here chilling, helping Stacy promote. And everybody kept calling my name. People were because people had kind of steered away from me for a while. You know how it is when you first get saved and you swing the pendulum all the way to the far left. Now, everybody that comes in your presence, you're like, let me lay hands on you, girl. The Father God told me to tell you this. And everybody was like, stay clear of Ev. She got the Holy Ghost in her. Steer clear of her. So eventually you kind of swing your pendulum back and settle somewhere in the middle that's comfortable. But at that time, like I said, I was freshly saved. So I was a holy roller. But in being a friend, I'm loyal. I promised Stacy that I would be there for her. And so I was. Instantly when I walked in, I felt, well, let me back that up. So the owner of the club, he has like brothers or something. They all look alike. There's this group of people, the Burgos family. They all look alike. He came to the door and said, how many are you guys? How many's with you, Stacy? She counted us out and we all went in. So they made us come in. When I was approaching the security guard, this particular one security guard, a female security named Sharice Myers, who was found out that she lied and committed fraud and all this stuff. When I was walking in, she checked my bag and she's like, you can't bring this in here. This is a weapon. It was a comb, a hair comb, a rat tail comb. She made such a big to-do about this comb, took it out of my bag, yet you allow 4 people or 3 people to come in with guns. Like, make it make sense. So we get in the club. She takes my comb. She makes this big scene. We get in the club, and I'm really, the entire time I'm in this frame of mind, like, why did I come? Why did I come? So everybody, it's active. It's, as they say, the club was jumping, and everybody's trying to, they see people they know, and everybody's heading off somewhere. So I was like the designated driver homegirl. I just held a little corner in the front. I didn't go deep into the club because I wasn't in a party state of mind. I didn't feel like I should have been there. And I just held my little corner across from the bar. I stood in this little area by this half a metal wrought iron gate. And I just stood there. My friends would go off, do their thing, come back and check on me. You good, Ab? You want something to drink? You good? I just was like, oh, I'm good. Y'all go ahead. I was only in the club an hour and 15 minutes before I got shot. While I was standing there, right across from me at the other side, which is where the bar was, I saw Scar, Matthew Allen, the guy that Puffy got into the fight with, that caused this whole melee to take place. I knew Scar. Scar's mother lived across the street from one of my beauty salons. I've known Scar from the street. I've known him for years, and we were cool. So he's like, hey, what you doing in here? Because he knew I got saved too. And so he's like, uh-oh, praise the Lord, you up in here? What you doing in here? Everybody was shocked to see me there because they all knew. That's how 10 toes down I am. Wherever I'm doing, everyone is going to know. It's not a secret for me. And so because everybody knew I got saved and I was not out at clubs and stuff like that, it was clear, what you doing here? And so I was like, oh, Stacy's promoting her stuff and I'm just out here with her promoting, supporting her, and that's it. He said, what you drinking? Let me get you a drink. I said, I'm not drinking. So I said, I'll take a juice. So he ended up getting me a juice. He even laughed, like, you got me ordering juice? I said, I'm not drinking. And that's the thing about me as well. When I say what I say, people respect my decisions, just like I respect theirs. If I'm not participating in an activity, no one can make me do it. It just so happens I drank my juice. I was standing on the side. One of my girlfriends came to me eventually and said, I want to go to the restroom. And so I walked with her to the restroom. We went down, we descended the staircase, which was right beside where I was standing, and we went around the perimeter. Because if you know a club, it's all thick and congested in the middle, and I don't want to be brushing against people and all that stuff. So we walked the perimeter, the outer perimeter of the club, and we went to the bathroom. As I got down there walking, you could see that the club was really like packed. There were tons of people there. And so I was like, wow, it's really, crowded in here. You could kind of see who and who was in the club. So we went to the bathroom. I went right back to my spot. In no time, a bunch of people start ascending up the staircase from the dance floor and coming into what would be the corridor between where I was standing on one side and where the bar was and a bunch of other people were standing, where Scar was standing. That walkway led to the front door. And whenever celebrities or someone notable is making their way through the club, you know how it is. They have the main people, they have the entourage, their security or whatever, the hangers on, and everybody who wants to be adjacent to them. And so that's what happened. All those people trying to be adjacent, like, oh, where they going? Let me walk where they walking. Jumped on too. So it was it swole. That little walkway swole with people. As they were ascending the stairs, Shyne's song was on, it was going off, and Black Rob's song, Whoa, was coming on. So that little intro, like that instrumentation. And so people were like, it was a current song at the time. It was popping. People were feeling themselves and they started, posturing and bravado and everybody was hyped. As they came through with that kind of mentality, they bumped into Scar's back. Now, Scar's back was to the walkway, so he couldn't see who was coming. He was facing the bar. His back was to the walkway. As they came through, they pushed him and his drink went in his face. So like anybody, if somebody pushes you from the back, he elbowed back, like, get off of me. When he elbowed back, they tried to push. And so it made the whole crowd start swaying. And that's when they got into this whole interaction, like, yo, he apparently, I don't know all the details in that, but I know, I didn't know them firsthand at the time. I do know them now. He tried to say something to him or whatever. And then they said whatever they said. And then one of the guys that was with Scar, apparently Puffy gestured in some type of way that they didn't like. And one of the guys that was with Scar slapped him in the face with a wad of money. It was like the young guys are now on, doing that little phone brick thing. Well, he had this wad of money in his hand for whatever reason, because I wasn't standing near them. I was across. But all I know is I saw when he swung and slapped and money was raining through the sky and falling to the floor. Everybody started trying to run and pick up money, and it was just craziness. It was lights, action, camera, people scurrying for money, trying to catch money out of the sky, and that melee was still taking place. Now, when I saw that, I turned around to my friend and I was like, uh-oh, shit is getting crazy in here. You see this? And never in a million years did I think it would escalate to a shooting. I thought it was male bravado. It was cold as ice outside, so I had no reason to believe it would get to that. But in no time, one thing led to another. The money was falling down. And then I see Shyne. I hear the raised voices and I see Shyne and Puffy start backing back. Now, we don't all watch the Hood movie or whatever. We know what it looks like when people are backing back and reaching from their hip to pull. So as they were backing back, they were drawing from their hip. And I turned to tell my friend, like, "Ooh, girl, watch out. Oh my God." Because there was really nowhere for me to go. where I was standing, there was a wrought iron metal rail to my back. I couldn't go, there was a drop over that. In fact, one of my friends fell over it onto the dance floor after everything happened. There was nowhere for me to go. And so as they were going back, they were backing back, like literally walking backwards towards the door, drawing from their hip. I told my friend, I said, oh my God, watch out. As I turned back to look at them, I watched them bow, bow. Both of them fired, and the muzzle flash was like, psh, psh. Shyne's muzzle flash was a little higher. He was on the side closest to the bar. Puffy's muzzle flash was a little lower, and he was on the side closest to where I was, straight ahead from me. I watched them both fire their guns. I watched them. I got hit right here, in my nose, in between my eyes, which means I'm facing directly at you. Just like I'm looking at you, and I can tell you got on black shades. They kind of look like Cazelles and an Adidas shirt. That's exactly how I was looking at him. And I watched him shoot me. So, not to digress, it always bugs me when people say, how can you be sure? The same way you're sure when your man is lying to you, or when your woman is lying to you, or the same way you're sure when you ask your kids a question and they do that little thing they do when they're not being honest and you know they're telling a story. I'm that sure. We know people that we love. We know people's tells or body language or whatever. The same way you're sure that I have on a green shirt, I'm certain that he shot me. Now, was he aiming at me? Was I the object of his fire? Absolutely not. I should not have been, because I didn't do anything to him. But is that what resulted? Absolutely, because I see a lot of people online get stuck on that. Oh, well, why would he shoot you? What did you do? Did you owe him money? And I'm like, class, pay attention. Bullets don't have names, and they don't have predetermined destinations. Once they come out of the gun, they're going to go wherever they go. And that's the thing about crime and shooting people. You cannot guarantee that what you're aiming at is what you're going to hit, because you might be a thug, but it doesn't mean you have good aim. You might be a criminal, but it doesn't mean you have good aim. And that is exactly how I sit here today, because some thug criminal with an attitude and an ego that was outside of control decided he was going to fire a gun in a crowded nightclub and shot me in my face. By the grace of God, I am here. The first thing I said when the bullet hit me, and listen, when right before the muzzle flash went off, when I had turned back to look, I heard God's voice say, relax, you are about to get hit, calm down. And when I screamed, no, pop, pop, and it hit me dead in my face. And I never passed out. I never fell. I never cried. Everybody started running. And just like when you watch a TV show or a movie and there's one person standing in a spot and everybody else is moving in fast motion and that one person is just in that spot, whatever they do looks a little slower, but everybody else is moving fast, that's exactly what it was like. Everybody was running, trying to get places. It was chaos. It was chaos. When that door, the first few people ran out of the door flew open. And remember, I was in that line sight, straight from the staircase, straight towards the front door. As soon as the bullet hit me, I threw my hands up and screamed out, no, God, don't take me. I'm not finished raising my kids. I have work to do. I screamed that at the top of my lungs. I said, I'm not going. Don't take me. I have work to do. I have to raise my children. And as I said that, the door flew open and I could feel that total rush of that cold December 27th morning air. It was freezing out there. And it passed right before the air. You ever watch Star Trek and they say, beam me up, Scotty? And they start to pixelate? My body started doing that. I felt my body pixelating. I didn't even feel like a solid person anymore. And as my body was pixelating, that's when the door flew open and the air rushed in. You seen a loosely knit sweater, or like the mesh net shirts that Jamaican men wear, the dreadlocks, the Rastafarians wear, that little mesh t-shirt? That's how I felt. I could feel the cold air from the front door rush through me, pass through me, go into the front of me and pass out the back of me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. Because I had never felt that sensation. I've always felt like a full, solid woman that I am. I felt the air come to my front, pass through my flesh, and come out the back. So all I could think was, this is what death feels like. I feel like I'm separating. My pieces are separating and I'm dying. And that is what I thought. Now, I don't know what to call that frame of mind. I was conscious. I was fully aware. I looked to the side and I saw this guy laying on the floor under the lip of the bar. And I said, oh my God, he died. And I stood there and prayed for him because my mentality was, he got shot in this. We had shared this situation. He got shot and I got shot. I thought I was dying and I already thought he was dead. So I didn't want him to face God without being saved. And so I stopped and I prayed for him. I prayed the blood of Jesus over him. And I prayed for his family and I prayed for the entire situation. And it was, I can't say that I was afraid. I can't, every time I get to this point, I just get emotional. I can't, I'm a tough cookie. And I promise you, I don't even, my mind doesn't tell me it's time to cry, but it's something, I'm a tough cookie, but this always, because I can feel it. You know, it's that whole where people say, how can you be sure? I can still feel it. I can still see it playing through my mind. Like, what's your favorite movie?
Something About Mary.
I know you know every single part about Something About Mary. When she getting ready to go like this and that hair is stuck up and what's in your hair? The same way you know every iota of that movie, I know every iota of this movie. This is the movie that plays over in my head. And it's not my favorite, far from it, but it's what plays over and over in my mind. I can't forget it.
I understand. I know it got to be hard for you to relive that incident. So when it comes to that shooting, right, from your point of view, you're sure that Diddy shot you 100%.
I'm 100%, I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure. I'm 1,000,000% sure. I am as sure as my babies came out of my womb and out of my vagina. I'm that sure. And I got 3 of them. I know what it feels like. I'm that concrete sure. And you notice the one thing, he has never formally denied. He did that one video with that wackadoodle attorney that was looking like he was high on coke. And he was like, I did not, and he used word semantics. I did not do anything to those people in a club. I remember his video 100%, a news conference. His eye, that's why he wears shades all the time, because his eyes tell on whatever he says. Go back and look at that video. There's a slender attorney who he never used again, no less, who's sitting at the table. Oh, these people are lying. We're going to prove da 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 da. Nonsense. Nonsense. He said, I did not do anything to hurt those people at a club. Word semantics. See, I don't have the option of tuning it out and moving on with my life. It's my existence. So every single thing said, especially by him and the parties involved, sticks in my head. I already have a unique brain that absorbs everything and remembers details, finite details of obscure things that most people it would pass you and you wouldn't even remember it. I remember it all. I just have an uncanny thing. I was standing in my beauty salon one day. A guy pulled up to the front of my salon. I saw him in the car. I looked, turned my head. I said, come here. He came in the door of my beauty salon. He was like, me? I said, I know you. He said, I don't know you. I don't recognize you. I said, I was sitting in my mind for a second. I had to ponder, where do I know him from? And I said, oh, your name is Colin. And I'm sure he's somewhere out in the world. He can verify this. I said, your name is Colin. Your grandmother's name is Miss Cook. She was the cook at our daycare center. You and I used to go to Haitian American Daycare Center together when we were 4. You drank my milk one day at lunch and I punched you. You fell backwards in the chair, broke your teeth, and I got a butt whipping. When I said this, I was probably maybe 28. I hadn't seen this guy since we were 4 or 5. He said, this chipped tooth in my mouth? He looked at me and said, who are you? His tooth was still chipped. My girlfriend was like, yo, Ab is wild like that. She remembers everything. Yes, I remember everything. We were in daycare center. I was a grown woman at the time. I glimpsed him just turning my head and looking out the front window of my salon. I'm that certain. I know other people use other people's situation as the litmus test by which they judge whatever you say or do. But I am unlike most people in this world, and I'm comfortable with that. I have a very innate ability to remember things that people would not believe. I have an innate ability to remember details like you would not believe. And that is just how the good Lord wired my brain. This is who I am. I'm not going to let anybody challenge me on what I know and believe and what I know concrete that I saw. No one is going to challenge me on that. I stand vehemently and firmly 10 toes flat on the floor and stand by this with my life. And trust me, everybody else knew what happened too. You know how many people in the club were talking about this all around New York? Everybody knew he did it. Everybody knew he did it. If you look in the comments on all of these video blogs and podcasts that are online, you'll see people that say, oh, I was in the club that night. We knew he did it. Everybody knew he did it. So this is not just my word. They just had the power, the influence, and the money to get around town and shut people down and pay them for their silence. I personally know people who were paid for their silence. Personally. And that doesn't make me feel good, but I know they were. And here's the long and short of it. God created me also to not be a grudge holder in the world. As much as I don't like what they did, and they could have solved this a long time ago had they spoken up, they know how to look out for people who are struggling, going through, and pay them the right amount of money. You know what people's philosophy is? I'm going to take this money because I have this need today. And nobody's going to come and rescue me. Nobody's going to come and who else is going to come and say, hey, take 10,000 or take 20,000? Who else? So while I don't like that they did not speak truth to power, I don't like that they allowed a situation to persist all this time without all of the facts being on the table and them saying what they knew happened. But I'm not going to sit here and judge anybody for the actions that they make. I don't like it. And it was wrong. But the decision that they made was theirs to make, and they're going to have to face God about that decision. But as for me and mine, I'm 100% clear on it.
And you made a comment about Diddy. He was wearing all white that night, so it was easy for you to say that he had a gun on him.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. I've had people say, oh, no, I saw a picture of him in a gray coat. He rich. That's what his attorneys brought him to the station to change into. I'm telling you what he had on. I don't care what anybody else says. I know what they both had on. I'm saying it 10 toes down. People can say what they want. See, the difference is Shyne, he wasn't the man. So he got caught in what he had on. They were able to get photographed after the fact in something different. And all of that was a ploy. I'm telling you what I know this man had on. And if I'm not mistaken, there are images of when they were coming to the club. There's images of paparazzi taking their picture. This ain't something I'm saying that can't be proven. But people like to use semantics like, oh, well, I saw him in a picture and he had on a this and a that. I don't care what you saw. I got shot. Just like I can't come in your house and tell you what you ate for dinner or what you did yesterday. No one's going to tell me about my existence. I walked this journey for 24 years. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, that man shot me in my face. And I watched Puffy do it. I don't care what anybody says. And here's the irony. After I got shot, and I just recently found out from a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in ages, she posted on her social media, she posted a picture. The picture contained herself. Her name is Missy Lou. The picture contained herself, Little Kim, a girl named Sada, and a young lady named Red. Red is the young lady who, her and a young lady named Keisha, and I believe Red and Keisha are sisters. When everybody else ran away from me in the club, people were looking at my face and going, and running away. Red and Keisha came to me. At one point, the only people that were there was a guy with dreadlocks and two other women that ran into this side door over in the area where I had been standing all night. I didn't realize that was even a door that could open. They ran into the door. It was, obscure because it was monochromatic, so you couldn't really tell it was a door, but then they ran into that door and Red was like, hold it. And as she said, hold it, they slammed it shut. They ran and one dove over the bar and got a bunch of paper towels and brought to me. And they were so calm and of level-headed mind to say, come to us, Eb, come here to us. Because they were wise enough to not rush and grab me and put me in shock. I don't know where they got this training from. It had to be God. But they knew not to rush and grab me. They kept saying, come to us, Eb, just come to us. We got you, baby. Come to us. They saved me. When everybody else ran away, Red and Keisha ran to me. I just found out not even a week ago that Red died. And I was heartbroken. I cried all day. She's my angel. I haven't seen her in ages, but she is my angel, her and Keisha. When everybody else ran away, they defended me. She went and banged on the door and said, open this effing door, open this door. And whoever, I don't know if it was the guy, but somebody opened the door. And when we walked into that, they said, come on, Eb, come through here. And when we walked into that doorway, it was the corresponding kitchen to the hotel that was connected to the club. And all I could see everywhere, there were people mulling about, but on the floor, it was that black and white tile pattern, that checkerboard pattern. And there were about 9 million blood footprints of my blood walking every direction. It was terrifying, jarring. It resonated on me that if that much blood was in footprints on the floor, how could I have enough blood in my body to keep me alive? I was certain that I was dying. And so as they got me, and when she was holding the paper towels to me, it was tons of blood. So as I walked into the kitchen point, there were a lot of what appeared to be Mexican men with aprons on, half aprons. And they were the chefs or the cooks in the kitchen or the kitchen staff. And people were mulling about and people were holding their face like, oh my God. And I saw 5 boxes, kind of like askew, just not in precision, but like half tilted or whatever, but stacked up. And it was 5 boxes tall of carrots. I knew they were carrots because I could see the green leafy stem hanging off the back of the carrots and the orange carrot actually poking out of those little holes on the side of the cardboard. They were poking out and they were the only thing that was static. And so I went and stood by the carrots because they looked like a safe place for me to stand. And I stood by the carrots and I just held the paper towels and I kept looking at everybody moving. If I could, I can't even tell you what I was thinking. I just was like, the best thing I could think is, I can't believe this. I can't believe this is happening. And I could see people moving to this right side through this doorway, but I wasn't really focused, but I could see the people moving through it. And just then somebody was like, come this way, come this way. And so I walked that way towards that doorway that a bunch of people had clearly ran through. Now, as I approached the doorway, God told me, bend down and touch the floor. This is a knowing, for all the people, let me just say this too. Let me stick a pin. For all the people in cyberspace that's out there and be like, oh, God talked to her. I don't believe nothing nobody say that God talked to. Good. The devil is waiting for you when it's your time of reckoning. Go home to your father. But as for me and my house, I'm going to believe in God, in the Lord God that saved me all this time. I don't care what they think. I will not be ridiculed. You can't mock me. You can't make me feel like no fool. If you think me saying that God spoke to me makes me crazy, then you go home to your father. Him and his red jumpsuit and his pitchfork is waiting for you. And that fiery hell that you will descend to, go home. This is for believers and other people who may not be believers, but they're willing to hear a story. He said to me, touch the floor. I had no reason after I just got shot in the face, after the other man that got shot was laying motionless on the floor and I thought he was dead. After my body felt the way it felt, I had no reason to doubt God. He had already brought me this far. He had already brought me that far. So when he said touch the floor, I literally held my purse was, you know how a purse has a loop? My hand was through the loop and the purse was descended, hanging right here. I had the bulk of paper towels holding my face and I literally bent down in that doorway and I touched the floor. I couldn't even see. It was dark. I just touched the floor. As soon as I put my hand down, I felt this metal under it. And I was like, what is that? But I just picked it up and God said, put it in your bag. I stuck my hand right in my bag and dropped it. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what it was. I didn't look at it. I touched it, stood back up, put it in my bag and kept walking through. All these other people were walking through, and just then a man came up behind me when we were in that corridor and touched me in the back and said, "Come with me." I didn't even see who he was. When I turned around, I looked, I recognized him to be one of the Burgos family. I don't know if it was the owner or one of his brothers. I know that face. They all look alike. And he said, "Come with me." Now, why would a man walk up out of nowhere? He wasn't in the kitchen. Where would he come from to tap me in the back and say, "Come with me"? Why would you tap me? You want to know why he tapped me? How did you know it was me through everybody? You want to know why he knew it was me? Because clearly they saw me on a surveillance system. You had to. How would you know it was me out of everybody? It was tons of people mulling around. How did you know it was me? You tapped me because you watched me on a surveillance system. Somebody else said in another podcast I spoke on, they saw that you were still alive and they were coming to finish you off. All I know is as I started to follow him, it led me through this series of things, and we heard this loud pop, 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 and it was a startling noise. He jumped, I jumped. It led me to this area, which I recognized to be like a VIP area. And there was a mirror on the wall. When I looked at that thing, when he heard that loud noise, this man broke out and left me standing there. You just tapped me and told me to follow you. This loud ruckus happened, and you all of a sudden ran away and left me. How did you know who I was? Why did you need me to follow you? Where did you come from that you happened into the kitchen area? How did you know where to find me to tell me to follow you? Because you were watching everything on a surveillance. But when he heard this noise, whatever the ruckus was, scared him, and he ran off and left me. But when I looked where he had led me to, there was a mirror on the wall. And everything on my face felt like it, all the skin on my head and face felt like it was tight right here. Like it was stretched out and super tight right here. And everybody that looked at me was going, like covering their face and backing away in horror. The only two people who did not do that was Keisha and Red. Everybody else was like, "Oh my God." And that mirror was sitting there, and I was like, what do I look like? Mind you, I'm sure it was of the least importance, but I worked in the beauty industry, and we are all vain to some degree. And that mirror, everybody backed away from me. And I was like, what do they see? What do I look like? And as I started approaching the mirror, God said, "Don't you look in that mirror." And I was like, I want to see. And he was like, "Don't you look in that mirror." And just as I was about to get to the mirror, I hear somebody say, "There you are. We were looking for you. We've been looking for you, young lady," an EMT worker. And led me back out. I never got to look in the mirror. The only thing in my time of self-reflection I can even surmise is God did not want me to go into shock by seeing my face in that condition. Anything could have happened. I could have spazzed out. I could have had anxiety, and it could have exacerbated the situation, and I could have died. I could have fell and hit my head, whatever. God did not want that to happen. And so when that EMS person appeared out of nowhere and said, "We've been looking for you, young lady," and they led me back from that way through the kitchen and to this corridor. When I arrived at the corridor, which was the corresponding corridor for the hotel that was attached to the club, the staircase it had a platform, and then it was like 4 or 5 steps down. But in those 5 steps, there were like 5 people deep on either side. These people were front to back, either side, waiting to see who it was that got shot. As soon as I got to the doorway, now mind you, I told you I felt, pixelated, like that Beam Me Up Scotty. I didn't feel flesh. I didn't feel solid. When I got to that area, people kept saying, "Oh my God, it's Ebony." And every time somebody said my name, I felt something pull me closer and closer, like I had been fading out of life. And every time somebody said my name, it was bringing me closer back to life. And I'm eternally grateful for that. I don't know how that works. I don't know what made it happen. All I know is that's what occurred. When it made me feel closer and closer to life, everybody was covering their face and looking away like, "Oh my God." And people was like, "Oh God." Some people screamed out, "Eb, oh my God, Eb." Everybody kept saying my name, and it's what made me more present in my body. That's the best explanation I can give for what that felt like. I felt more present in real time. And they led me to the ambulance. And, eventually they took me to the hospital. And the crazy irony was, it was one of those two ambulances that was at the front of the block. One took me and one took Julius Jones, the other guy who got shot. And I said it when I came in the block. What are they expecting? Somebody to die? And those are the ambulances that transported us. Like, you can't make this up. You cannot make it up.
Wow. And speaking of the ambulance, you made a comment saying that it's in court documents that when you walked into the hospital, you made it clear that Diddy shot you.
Listen, when I got in that ambulance, remember, I didn't walk in. They wheeled me in. I said to everybody, they said, can you tell? Of course, they're trying to do whatever their life-saving stuff. Can you tell us what happened to you? Can you tell it? I said, Puffy shot me in the face when I was under. And they were, well, before we get to to the doctor that did my surgery, when they wheeled me into the hospital, because the first hospital they took me was St. Clair's. St. Clair's is a local neighborhood hospital. I don't even think they exist anymore. They took me to St. Clair's. St. Clair's was very, in light of what was going on, it was very la-di-da in there. And I couldn't understand. I was like, wait a minute. Are they waiting for me to die? What is happening? Why are they not working on me like this? I was on a stretcher in the emergency area. Everybody was kind of just no sense of urgency. And so I knew I needed to speak to my family. I felt like I was dying, and I didn't want to die without my family members knowing what had happened to me. And so the irony was, at the time, I couldn't remember anybody's number but my sister, whose house I went and got an outfit for. And that must have been the shock setting in. I couldn't remember anybody's phone number, back when we knew phone numbers. But I could remember my sister's number. So I called my sister. And irony, when I was leaving her house, we have this little joke we run with each other. And as I was approaching the door, when I was initially leaving, she said, "Stupid McNoopin." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Be careful." And I said, "Oh, why are you jinxing me? Get out of here." And I had fanned her off. So now I called her, and she picked up the phone. She was clearly sleeping. She was like, "Hello?" And I was like, "Tell." And she was like, "What you calling me this hour of the night for? Whose number is this? Girl, tell me about the party tomorrow." I was like, "No, Tell, listen to me." And that's when that is the first time I cried. Once I heard my sister's voice, I knew somebody in my family knew where I was and was going to be able to tell what happened to me. And she said, "What's wrong?" And as soon as she said, "What's wrong?" I could hear her husband in the background, my brother-in-law Dale, screaming, "What happened to Em? What happened to Em?" And I started crying, and I couldn't catch myself. She said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Call mommy. I got shot in the face." And she just started screaming hysterically. And she couldn't answer him. And he grabbed the phone and was like, Em, what happened? What happened?" And I was like, "Call mommy. I got shot in the face." And that is when all the emotions came. And I was crying. The nurse that had brought me the phone was standing there, and she turned around, and the TV was on in the background, and the reporting had already started about what was going on at the club. And this nurse leaned over and said, "Oh, mommy, that's you they're talking about? You saw J-Lo, mommy, what she had on? I'm fucking dying." And this lady's asking me, what was J-Lo wearing?
Wow.
Do you see so I may come across as cantankerous with this thing. It's been cantankerous. I am laying on a stretcher in the emergency room at St. Clair's. I told my sister, "Get mommy fast. They're going to let me die." I felt like they were letting me die. My mother, being a powerful woman in New York City, as she was, had connections and all this. My mother got on the phone. My sister called my mother. My mother got on the phone with this one, that one, that one. Next thing you know, I was already being transferred by ambulance, an emergency life flight ambulance, well, not life flight, but the life-saving ambulance, to St. Vincent's Hospital, which is a level 1 trauma center. Instantly. Why didn't they? I got shot in the face. Why would you take me to a local neighborhood hospital if this was not a sacrifice? Why wouldn't you take me to St. Vincent's, which was closer to the club and a level 1 trauma center? I have a bullet in my face. No one can explain that to me. No one has ever been able to explain that to me. My mother had to get me transferred to St. Vincent. And as soon as I got to St. Vincent, they had already had all of my stuff sent over, and they were rushing me into surgery. The doctor was taking, I was like, Puffy, he kept saying, can you tell us what happened? What's, when they ask you those questions, which I found out later to be neurological questioning to make sure that you're aware and that you have some level of reasoning. And he's like, what's your name? How old are you? Can you tell me what happened? And I said, Puffy shot me in my face. This man testified. I testified in the criminal trial. This man testified in the criminal trial. People are like, why didn't she speak up then? Why is she saying something now? She want clout. Are you dumb? Are you dumb? And there's a thing called Google. It's a search engine. Type things in and look before you just wantonly, with flagrant disregard, comment stupid comments. I had one lady say, well, why she ain't make posts about it back then? Why she ain't put it on her social media back then? Hello, dumb. I got shot 24 years ago. There was no social media. No social media existed in 1999. I was viral before there was a social media. That's why I've always had a love-hate relationship with social media, because I was viral when no social media. I probably was one of the first viral cases. There was no social media. I have to field these type of questions every day. My kids be like, Ma, stay off of social media. Don't listen to those people. Don't respond to them. Don't answer. I don't want you to go through this. Like, everybody got a chip in their shoulder. People are livid. I had one lady say, well, my son got shot by somebody and he died, so why should she get any money? What? What? First and foremost, rest in peace to your son. Second of all, you a straight hater from the pits of hell. Third of all, the United States created their remedy by which you get legal recourse. Either if somebody commits a crime against you, that's why when something happens, it'll say the state against whoever hurt you. Because the government is taking over control and saying, we are pleading your case and filing a case. The state is going against this person who perpetrated the crime. And the second recourse is civil. Civil means a money judgment. I've heard people say the same thing with Cassie. Oh, she just want money. Why she ain't taking the money? Hello? There are two legal remedies by which you get recourse in this world, civil or criminal. Go talk to the United States senator of your district if you got a problem with that. But don't come holler at me. I need to be made whole. I was a business owner. I owned 2 beauty salons. I was living my life. If I don't stand behind a chair, how do I eat? I don't have a career where, oh, they put me on sick leave and they just pay me every week. I owned my own businesses. I was a mother. I didn't go out and shoot anybody. I didn't go out and commit a crime, and I deserve to be made whole. Why are so many people so hard pressed? Well, she got to get some money. Why they hating so much? Meanwhile, you out here, you governing the life of someone who was victimized by someone who committed a crime, but you laid up with a man who won't help you pay no bills. Why are you worried about my say? Your priorities are in the wrong place. Worry about your own household. Don't worry about me. There's a lot of venom out here where people want to spew negative narratives and cast aspersions against you if you want to seek legal remedy to be made whole. And it has got to stop, because people don't understand the importance of these two things being created until it's on their front doorstep. I took an Uber somewhere the other day with my daughter, and I happened to say to a young lady, like I say to everybody, because I'm a life insurance agent, what's your relationship with life insurance? I gave her my card. She said, oh man, I wish I would have met you just a little while ago. And I said, why? What's going on? She said, I just lost my brother and my nephew. I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. They died in a car accident. The girlfriend, him and his girlfriend fell out and she was chasing him in a car. Something happened and the car flipped over and they both died. She said, I wish we would have had that because we didn't have no insurance for him like that. Like just a regular automobile insurance policy, but not a personal life insurance policy. Everybody knows when you need life insurance, it's too late. Everybody wants some type of remedy for the sum total of their existence. Nobody wants to have something happen and then they go away and they're just back to the dust and there's no recourse, there's no legacy left behind for your existence, no nothing. We live in a world where people make plans, they work, they put money away, they make sure that they have something to speak for their existence. Why do you think the sum total of my existence is 0 and I shouldn't be entitled to anything? I'm sick of that narrative. I'm really sick of it. And people need to check themselves. They really do. Because if you think somebody should be compensated for something, then why do you go to work? Why don't you just stay home every day?
Real talk. And I want to ask you, because I know you revealed that you got bullet fragments still in your face. Do you deal with anything else outside of that?
So by the grace of God, God left me whole, and he left me physically and aesthetically whole. And I always thought about this over the years, like, what is it about me? I even went through survivor's guilt because it's all, I would see stories after the fact about somebody who, tripped off the sidewalk and fell and died. And I'm like, how could somebody just trip and die? And I got shot in my face and I'm still here. There was a nasty case of survivor's guilt that I endured for quite a number of years. Not because I didn't want to be here. It's because I felt like, well, it becomes that questioning that you ask, well, why me? What's so special about me? You understand? You understand what I'm saying? And I truly believe that God have left me of sound mind and body and aesthetically whole so that for a time such as this. So when I come and I spread my message and I speak truth to power, no one is distracted by a disfigurement. God left me whole for his purpose. I'm eternally grateful for that. But the aftermath has not been easy. I've had a whole lot of medical issues. I still have 9 bullet fragments in my face. Now, I've seen you people in the audience, how she got shot 9 times. Ugh. Like, come on, comprehension. 9 bullet fragments. I got shot with a hollow point gun, a hollow point bullet, excuse me. The hollow point bullet shatters on impact. It tears up and it spreads through your body. I still have 9 fragments in and around my face. The majority of them are right here. I have some here, and one went through. I have a traumatic brain injury because it scarred my cerebral cortex, and I have a seizure disorder because of it. I had swelling of the brain, severe migraines, all types of stuff. It affected. I have a tooth I lost on this side because a bullet fragment was leaning on my nerve, and it was causing me so much incredible pain. They had to go in and do what's called a pulpectomy, where they take all of the nerve out of your tooth. And once you take the nerve out of a tooth, you are deconstructing the structure of the tooth, and the tooth becomes weak, and the tooth broke. All of these things I've had to deal with. This is 24 years later. That tooth just broke a few years ago. Your gums are sensitive. I still have bullet fragments here. Lead does not belong in the body. You don't believe me? Look back in history when little kids used to eat paint chips containing lead and they died because lead is toxic to your human body. But yet for the last 24 years, I've had lead bullet fragments in my face. Just like Julius Jones, the other gentleman who got shot, he still has a bullet in his back. Like, people need to have some sort of respect and empathy, if nothing else. If nothing else. We didn't ask for this. We didn't do anything to deserve this. Like I said, I was an innocent bystander. What did I do to deserve this? And so, yes, the aftermath has been horrific because outside of all of the physical things, I would have seizures. Sometimes I could have 20 seizures a day. One day, my son, he's a grown man now, but when he was a teenager, he came home from school, all jolly, in a good mood, found me on the bed, stuck in a seizure, contorting, and my daughter, which was an infant, on the bed, trying to get the bottle in her mouth. Just laying there without no care. I had been in a seizure. I don't know how long that seizure took, but I was seizing terribly. You know what my teenage son did? Because no boy wants to come home and find his mother in a seizure and the baby out there struggling to eat her bottle. He punched a hole in the wall, injured his hand because he was devastated. Like, all of these things. People don't think about all these things. I left my kids over my grandmother's house for the holiday. I was a fully intact mommy. There have been times where, because of all of the medication I was under, I was lethargic. I was not myself. Do they know the effect of seizure medication? You're not out here sitting in the stands at the football game cheering for your kids. I was lethargic, and it wasn't just seizure medication. It was a bunch of medicine. And that's one thing I will say about the medical industry. They have no compulsion to put you on a bunch of medicine. All these rappers with their lean and all this stuff, I had that medication. It's disgusting. I couldn't even drink it. It is disgusting. So the fact that they've taken this thing and made it sport is crazy. It is, you will gag and spit all of that up. Yet they're drinking this like it's nothing. I had to allow myself to suffer the pain because I couldn't get that stuff down my throat. I minded my business. I was an innocent bystander. Why should my life be destroyed because somebody with the ego problem wanted to shoot a gun into a club? And I've had to deal with a lot since then. I've had to deal with a whole ton of stuff. I've had to deal with them harassing me for 20 something years. Throughout it wasn't 24 years straight, but it would come and go. But now that this whole thing has, risen back up, I have a lot of harassment that I deal with. I even made a little video after I had done another podcast. Oh my God. Well, I had done the TikTok, and then I went on a podcast, and I couldn't even go get gas. All of my cards would kept decline, every one. How? How does that anomaly occur? Just because they have wealth and access to power and tentacles that stretch all through society. They can do what they want to you. The powers that be. They can do what they want to you if they so choose. And they're connected to enough people that can make your life a hell. Trust me, I've been there. I've walked through the fire, but guess what? No matter what they do, I'm a child of God. I didn't walk through the fire. I do not smell like smoke. I don't smell like smoke. So I always tell people, when you send your minions to come for me, send your best and brightest. Not these little lollygagging dilly-dallies that you be sending. Send your best and brightest. Because I'm God's child. He watches over his children and his fools. And I don't know which one I am, but thank you, Father God.
Right. And I gotta ask you, tell me if I'm wrong or not. If I'm not mistaken, after you was shot, Diddy, he put money on your head, right?
That's how I ended up. I'm a Brooklyn girl. I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised in Brooklyn. My family's from the Caribbean. Between, whether it was times that we spent in the Caribbean or my life in Brooklyn, I'd considered myself a New York girl. I had no intentions of leaving. And probably had this happened, I probably would have never left. But when the district attorney's office gets information from one of their confidential informant sources saying that there's a bag on my head, and I'm calling the district attorney's office, and I'm calling everybody, because I look out my window where I was living in Canarsie, Brooklyn, and there's 4 stretched blacked out SUVs I lived on the corner. There's one on that corner, one in front of my house, one on the next corner. Why? That's never happened to me before. I've never seen that. I live in a typical Afro-Caribbean community in Canarsie, Brooklyn, that I had never seen that. But now I look out the window after I got shot by Puffy, and all of these SUVs blacked out on the corners and on the blocks of my house. Why? When the district attorney's office notifies me and my mother that they got and my attorney confidential information from an informant saying that there's a bag on my head, and there was also a bag on Scar's head, what should I do? Sit there and wait for them to come get me? Or submit to the will of people who have my best interests and want to move me and my family to preserve my safety? Like, I keep getting all these stupid comments online, like people don't understand the English that I'm speaking. One thing that I was always teased about when I was younger was that I was Encyclopedia Brown. Every time I tell a joke, you learn a new vocabulary word. I know I speak clearly and concisely. Do you hear a little Caribbean accent? Perhaps. But I'm extremely articulate. But for some reason, when the words come out of my mouth and they land into the ears of these people out there, these negative people, it turns into something else. Not exactly sure why. Now, I know I've harped on the negative people. Let me say 85% of the feedback has been very, very positive. Very positive. And I appreciate you all. And I don't mean to focus on the negative people. It's just that their negativity is intensely negative. It is inherently negative, and it is far-reaching. And it's not right. Why do we continue to victimize and re-victimize our community members who have done nothing wrong? Why are you standing up for a criminal who hurt people that did nothing wrong and didn't deserve it? That is why our communities continue to have such decline and moral degradation, because we're too busy representing for the thug and not for the victim and not for the survivor. Stop making excuses for somebody that do wrong, because when it hits your doorstep, you're going to want somebody to hear your cause and plead your case for you. Why do you not want the same for me? Do unto others as you'll have them do unto you.
Yeah, that's real talk. I just can't believe it, man. I'm still in disbelief that, he put money on your head and you had to move, right?
I had to. The district attorney's office moved me. The district attorney's office moved me. I'm a Brooklyn girl. I had no reason to move out of Brooklyn. I loved Brooklyn. If you look over the sum total of my existence, had I not gotten shot by Puffy, I'd probably still live in Brooklyn, unless I, in my later age, decided, okay, well, let me move. But for all intents and purposes, that is the impetus that caused me to move. I was a business owner. I had businesses. Why would I pick up and just leave everything I knew? But for the fact that my life depended on it. Because guess what? Scar was on the run after a while because he learned that they had a bag on his head. He eventually got arrested for something. Not too long after he got out of jail, they took him out. He is dead. Not that long after he got out of jail. And I don't know that the bag was ever taken off. I know that most people that he comes against and there's some negativity, they end up dead. I'm going to keep doing what I know. I'm here 24 years later. I'm grateful to God. I'm halfway through the year. December 27th will make 25 solid years that I survived that. By the grace of God, I continue to be eternally grateful. But I'm not going to sit here and allow anyone to make me feel discomforted or throw me off and say, oh, you fine, girl. They ain't thinking about you. I even had some girlfriends who right now I don't really talk to them because when this came back out, when this whole Little Rod lawsuit came back out and the podcast were reading through all the steps of the lawsuit, well, when the Cassie thing came out and it elevated everything and people were attacking her, oh, she's lying, oh, she's this, and he was, enough is enough. I vehemently denied the charges, and then the video came out with him kicking this child, kicking somebody's child in her face like she was trash. Where's your enough is enough statement? And people still defended him. Oh, she want a bag. Oh, she's a gold digger. Oh, she a thought. She lying. She want money for her new husband. And then a video comes out where, you know how crazy you got to be to run down a hall in a towel that was held together by the blood of God, by the blood of Jesus. That towel was held together. To run down so cavalierly down the hall in a towel and punch and beat somebody and drag them like that, throw vases, sit in a chair with your legs open so your nether regions can hang and throw vases at this woman in a hallway. Do you know who you gotta be? Baby, that's not even hell. That's the pits of hell underneath hell. That's that space underneath hell. But before that video came out, oh, they trying to take a good black man down. That's what they accused me of 24 years ago. Had anybody listened to me 24 years ago and understood my clear and concise statements that said, this man shot me in my face, had they listened, had they taken heed and they knew I wasn't lying, everybody knew I was not lying. But because he had power, prestige, fame, money, and access to the people that have even more power than him, they let him walk because their agenda had to be carried out by him. So they let him walk. But guess what? If somebody listened to me, perhaps Cassie would have never had to endure, and all those other people that died under alleged suspicious causes at his hand would not have had to endure if he was held into account for what he did to me 24 years ago. Look how many other people had to suffer. This is what pisses me off. Everybody accused me of trying to take down, and I'm talking physically in the street, cursed me out, screamed me down, because there was a cover story of on the Daily News that was done of me, and people could see my bandaged face and recognize me. Saw me in the street. I was out with my mother when she was running an errand, cursed me out, called me everything but a child of God. You're trying to take a good black man down. You're trying to destroy hip hop. Why would I destroy hip hop? I'm a child of hip hop. I took my $3.23 and walked to Straker's record store on Utica Avenue in Crown Heights, Brooklyn in August of 1979. And I bought King Tim III by the Fatback Band first. And a week later, I bought Rapper's Delight. I got such an early copy. It wasn't that sky blue copy that had that kaleidoscope keyboard panel on it. I had a white jacket. That's how early I got my record. I am hip hop. I could quote hip hop quotables with the best of them. In fact, everything in my life is a hip hop quotable. So how dare you accuse me of trying to take down hip hop or trying to take down a good black man? Show me a good black man that I was trying to take down, because it ain't him. There's a whole list of people with crimes and moral turpitude against him. Me? Trying to take down a good black man? No, I was trying to save society. I was trying to save society from a nefarious actor, from a character, from Kaiser Sose. But y'all ain't want to hear me then. It took Cassie to come out and say this man would make her carry his gun in her pocketbook to control her and to make her feel afraid in her lawsuit. In her lawsuit. Little Rod's lawsuit. He tried to bully Little Rod, allegedly, according to the details in the lawsuit. He tried to bully him and he said, I shot that lady in the club. That's what made me make the TikTok. I was minding my business. I was watching YouTube, minding my business, waiting to go pick my daughter up from work. And then I'm watching some podcaster and it was half watching me. And I hear them going through the counts of the lawsuit and they get to a count and it says, Puffy admitted he shot the lady in the face. It was like somebody kicked me in my chest. I said, what? After all these years, he's bragging now? And then I made the TikTok. Half my comments were, girl, you need a ring light. That's how dark it was. That's to tell you, I wasn't setting up like, oh, let me go make a TikTok because I want to be famous and be clout chasing. No, I'm 53. 54 now. My birthday just passed. I'm tired of you people on the thing. She wanted clout. She's chasing clout. For what? What I'm going to do with it? You could pay Georgia Power with clout? Can you pay the gas bill with clout? Do they take clout when you're paying your insurance bill? Because tell me where they take clout and then I will use it. But until then, clout don't value nothing but people whose priorities are all effed up. That's what clout can be used for. It can't be used for nothing in the real world. Nothing. I don't have time to worry about clout. I have to worry about my sanity, about speaking truth to power, about telling my story. If your lies intersect with my truth, too bad for you. I am not a thug. I am not a criminal. I don't live in the street. I ain't into thug life, so I'm nobody's snitch. I'm a grown woman telling what happened to me. And I'm always do that. If your lie intersects with my truth, too bad for you. Too bad for you. I'm not concerned. I'm going to do what my mama and grandmama taught me. God rest my grandmother's soul. I'm going to do what she taught me. And all these people that project this whole, oh, she just want clout. She's a thief. She want money. Listen, my grandmother, God rest her soul, her favorite scripture was, so as a man thinketh, so is he. If every time somebody tells their story and you think they lying, it's because you a liar. If every time something happens and somebody gets compensated, if you think everybody's a thief, it's because you're a thief. If you think everybody's a thought or a hoe, it's because that's what you are. And you're projecting your crap onto me. Save it. Don't project your stuff onto me. Because you see this righteous breastplate of righteousness I wear, it can't penetrate. So save it. If it would have penetrated, it would have happened 24 years ago and I'd be out of here. I'd be a dusty picture on a shelf and my kids will be telling you a story. But that ain't happened. I got on a breastplate of righteousness. My birthday is June 12th. I tell everybody, one day the Most High told me, read every scripture that coincides with your birthday. I read Ephesians 6:12. It said, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities of darkness and evilness and wickedness in high places. It's the sum total of my existence and this case. I wrestle not against flesh and blood. These principalities of darkness that's on that man, because you can't call it nothing else. That's a spirit of wickedness and evil. And I am the person charged with speaking truth to power and fighting back. I'm not going to cower in a corner like a coward and tuck my tail and be scared to speak. I've always been outspoken. God put this in me and I'm going to be that. And I don't care what anybody thinks. What anybody in that world thinks of me is not my business. That's your business. Take that to the altar. It's above me. Take it to the altar.
Yeah, I feel you. So I want to backtrack, right? Scar, he's the one that got into it with Diddy, right? Before the shooting. And you said that he ended up dead?
He ended up dead eventually, yeah, a few years ago. It's probably been, can't remember exactly, maybe 8 or 10 years now, probably 8 years. He passed away. I actually flew home to his funeral because, like I said, he was a friend of mine. He lived across the street. His mom lived across the street from one of my beauty salons, and he and I were friends. And I wanted to pay my respects because we had all our lives intersected in this unique, weird circumstance and anomaly. And I felt like it was my duty to go pay my respects. And I'm not big on funerals, but for him, I wanted to go pay my respect.
And who was Scar for the people out there
Scar,
wondering who he is?
so Scar is the person that Puffy and them and Shyne got into the argument with that night in the club that created this whole powder keg. That's the guy they bumped into, splashed his champagne in his face. He bucked back, and they all got into this whole melee. And that's what caused Puffy to want to, and Shyne to want to be. And let me just say something about Shyne too, because I said on my TikTok, Shyne did not shoot me because he didn't. But Shyne is a con artist. Let me just put that right out here now. Everybody's like, oh, we know Shyne was innocent. No, you don't know a daggone thing because he's far from innocent. Back in the days, there was a podcaster, and I'm sure you may be familiar with him. Do you remember Combat Jack podcast? One of the early days? Of course.
Yeah, R.I.P. to him. Yeah.
R.I.P. to Combat Jack. He did a show back in the days when Shyne was still screaming from the rafters how Puffy double-crossed him, threw him under the bus. He did a podcast. He had Shyne on it, and Shyne said, I can almost quote, somebody had played, if you can, now you can't even find the full podcast. You may be able to go in the Wayback Machine and find it. They look like they scrubbed it off the internet, but I'm doing a docuseries called Shot, Survivors Helping Others Through, and we captured that podcast, and we have it. I have it memorialized. They did something like, brah, brah, like gunshots in the background. He was like, nah, don't do that. Because shorty Natania Reuben, that's my friend. A lot of people don't know. See, these Johnny-come-latelys don't know the real deal. Shyne, when they were trying to get Shyne a record deal, his former manager, Manny Haley, who was a friend of mine, and I used to work in his beauty salon before I opened my own, called me one day and said, yo, Eb, what's up? What you doing? I said, I'm in the studio. He was like, oh, word? You remember that youngin' that used to rhyme outside the shop? I want to bring him through. They trying to get him a deal. Let me bring him through. Let him drop some bars on your session. So Shyne's record deal is because I let him come to my session, and I know they took that sample as a snippet to help shop him to get a record deal. That's the irony of life. So while these people are like, oh, she just want money, you don't have a clue. Shyne said vehemently on the Combat Jack podcast, and I have a clip I will send to you. He said, Natania Reuben is my friend. I'm sorry she got hit. It was foul because we used to go to the studio with her and everything was everything. She my friend. So we don't know if my gun hit her with the ricochet because it was 4 guns in the club. We don't know. But I'm sorry it was her because that's my friend. When you listen back to it, you're going to be awestruck at how almost verbatim I just said that. Trust me, I've played it over in my head a million times. It's the number one question I've been asked for 24 years. Did they apologize to you? I'm always awestruck when people ask that. I'm like, apologize? People that's guilty don't apologize. Now, he apologized to some degree, and I had love for him for that. My sister even was the one that called me crying and said, I need you to listen to this. Sit down. And she played that snippet for me originally when it first happened. And I was awestruck. Because guilty people don't apologize. But he was at least showing some contrition. Now that he's Mr. and listen, I sat back from the background and watched his ascension. Like I keep telling people, I'm not a grudge holder. I know most of y'all can't conceive of this because y'all out here holding grudges on your mama from 1900 something. I'm not her. I don't hold grudges. I don't give people free space in my prime real estate. I don't let people take up residence in my brain. God did not create my brain or wire me that way. So I want people to be held accountable for what they did, but I'm not sitting here pining, oh, I want to burn him in effigy. No, I'm not that person. I sat back and I watched Shyne's ascension. When he got deported, first he was in jail, then he got deported. He became a community activist in his community. I was proud of him. I was like, wow, he's turning his life around. I'm proud of him. Time and distance will give you the ability to make yourself anew. So I was watching him. I was very proud of him. But now that you've gotten to this place where you are the head of the opposition party and you want to ascend to prime minister of Belize, your home country where you were deported to, but when you got deported back and you started interacting with Puffy, the prime minister, the party that was in power put a rule of law in that said if you were convicted of a crime anywhere in the world, you could never be the prime minister in Belize. So now he's going to jockey off of me saying Shyne didn't shoot me to try to leverage himself to get that prime minister seat because your homeboy keeps sending his little plane over there to Belize. I don't know what y'all doing. You know, the RICO say moving bodies of females and stuff ain't my business. We're going to let the RICO charge handle that. But whatever you into, you want that access to power, and he wants you to have that access to power so he can move those human bodies through your island and whatever other packages is on that plane. That's not my concern. I'm going to sit back like a spectator and watch until it plays itself out. But you want to use, oh, you see, the woman said I didn't shoot her. Did you hear the ting? Come on. When you on Drink Champs, you be like, yo, I'm saying no because you know people said I sound like Big. And then when you talking to the local news media in Belize, you're like, I don't know what these people are discussing. The people want to take me down and I'm the... Cut the shenanigans. You ain't nothing but a penny Annie shyster, a shady car salesman. You ain't nothing but a dressed up fraud. You a liar. I sat back and I watched you and I said, wow, he is making good on himself. But then you tried to, you slipped and bumped your head. And I can forgive people, but let me tell you something. When you step on that pinky toe with the corn, you done effed up. You're not going to use me to leverage your way into the prime minister seat. Shyne shot Julius Jones, and I can prove it to you. I'll bring Julius Jones to the surface to tell y'all himself. Ain't nobody seen him in 24 years. I will bring him. I will bring the proof. Shyne shot Julius Jones. He still has the bullet in his back. I'm tired of these stupid lies. And people, here's what pisses me off. In everybody's story, they keep pulling me up. Oh, the woman who was the victim, she said I didn't shoot her. What? Dude, you didn't even finish paying me. You still owe me money. Let's get that part out too. In the settlement, Shyne was responsible. They assess different degrees of responsibility for the settlement. Shyne was assessed his responsibility, but you know, because his money was dragged all out in the legal fees, he didn't have the money to pay. They also said, if you don't pay her this amount by this day, you are then subject to have to pay her this amount plus interest. I got shot 24 years ago. The case ended about 13, 14 years ago. He still owe me money, but you driving a Maybach in Belize. You walk around doing this. You were out of the country for how much years? Then you was able to get back in the country because you were the head of the... Soon as you reach back to the country, you're supposed to be doing political thing. You at Fat Joe party. Why? Is political stuff going on in Fat Joe's party? You in every party on Drink Champs, turning your narrative over and over, changing the... I used to be a messenger and I was going up to all the record companies and giving them my tape. Dude, you came and rapped about Cohiba cigars in my studio session and they took that to shop you. Cut the lies and the shenanigans. See, one thing you're not going to do, you're not going to elevate yourself off the back of me with no lies. I'm not having it. I won't tolerate it. And if you don't believe me, just watch me. See, I'm that thorn in their side that they can't get rid of. You know that big, mighty Rottweiler that woo, 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 and everybody's scared to walk by the gate, and then he steps on a nail, and he's... That's who they're going to be. See, you done stepped on a nail on my pinky toe with the corn. I'm not letting up. I'm not taking pressure off until you tell the truth, until you're made responsible and to face ramifications for what you did to me and what you did to Julius Jones. I'm not letting up off the gas. I'm not. Long as that pinky toe throbbing, you in for it. And I mean that with my heart and soul. Watch me.
And if I'm not mistaken, you can clarify this, but I seen you make a comment somewhere saying that, you know, before Shyne was famous, you used to help him out with money and food.
Listen, when we went to, so when they came, and this wasn't an all the time thing, it was just when he would come to the studio session. So one particular, it just happens that the people that he was moving with, these were some large dudes. They all owned businesses. Everybody was large. They was about their paper. They were older than him. We were older than him. So it suffice to say we were more advanced in our positions and in our professions and things like that. And it just so happens that because I'm an empath, those of you that don't know what that is, there's this thing called YouTube and Google, avail yourselves of it. EMPATH, empath. So because I'm an empath, I am very hypersensitive to people's energy and emotions. And I could feel, they started saying, yo, what's up? Yo, let's chill for a minute and go get something to eat and then come back to the studio. And all of these dudes, they throw it in the bag, dudes. They don't got to ask what's the price of this. They got money. I could feel the energy, and I turned and looked at him. I could feel the energy. He was like, oh, nah, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to rap from you. I want to get my flow right. And I instantly could read the energy. He had no money. I am always the person who will save people from humiliation. I want to save people. I don't want people to feel humiliated. No grown man wants to feel like they have to ask another grown man, can you pay for my food? You understand what I'm saying? It was as simple as that. And I didn't want him to be stripped of his dignity. And so I was like, oh, well, if he's staying, I'm going to stay too. You're not going to beat me at my own session. Here's the thing. We're going to both keep going. And whoever lays it down the best, they got to pay for the next person's food. He was like, okay, cool. He realized what I was doing. I'm sure of it. And he was like, oh, we're going to stay. I said, y'all go ahead. We'll catch up to y'all. Just tell me where y'all going. And then we stayed. I let him go, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, all right, you got me. Come on, let's go meet them. It's on me. I was preserving his dignity. And yet here you are, 24 years later. You didn't hear the woman? She said, I didn't do it. Dude, have you no integrity and decency? And here's the thing. I went on, as the young people call it, trolling. I didn't do it to trolling. I was just showing him something, but they call it trolling. I went and found the Combat Jack, the podcast episode thing. And I also had the clip of him saying it, and I put it out there and I tagged him in it. That sucker blocked me faster than this fake sun is blocking out the rays. He blocked me so fast because he doesn't want, and I tagged him and every media organization in Belize. Because sucker, you cannot run. I keep telling people, do not bother me and I will never bother you. I don't mess with nobody. They call me Lottie Dottie because I like to party. Not in the clubs, just my own little party. I don't cause trouble and I don't bother nobody. But when you come for me, prepare yourself for my wrath because I don't stop until I'm done. You had no right to leverage my name in your lies. And since you did that, I'm going to bring you to bear. You'll never be the president of Belize if I'm left up to it. As long as that rule is in place, I'm going to bring the proof. I'm going to bring the proof that shows you shot Julius Jones and Puffy shot me. I'm not tolerating this. And I'm pissed off. Stop calling my name into your lies. Stop coming for me. Everybody seems to think that it's okay to use me to leverage their little stories. You want a story? I'm going to give you one. The only difference is this is the truth.
Right. So Julius Jones, he was the other person that got shot that night at the club.
And for years, people kept making it seem like, I was the only person that was shot and disavowing him. And I had a problem with that. Like we belong to a club that we never asked to join, but we have lifetime membership in. We didn't ask to be shot by these people. We didn't ask to be thrust into this, social media storm. We didn't ask for this. But what I cannot do is sit here and espouse how the impact of what this has had on my life without bringing him up in the discussion. I had to keep telling people, I'm not the only person that got shot. Please give respect to him. This is my brother in life now because we were thrust into a club we never asked to belong to. Nobody can tell us what our experience is. That's like if you go to the supermarket, buy an orange juice and a pound cake, and you come home and then somebody argued down, you bought bread. And you're like, no, I didn't. I bought pound cake and orange juice. No, you didn't. How can you be sure? You know how ridiculous that sounds? You'll be looking at them like, get out my face because you know what you did. That's how I feel about it. That's how he feels about it. Get out my face. And if you keep bringing me up and using me to leverage your story, you better be prepared for the flashback. And that's just it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I get it. I see why you would be mad. But I want to ask you, right? Jennifer Lopez, I want to ask you about her. You made a comment saying that she lied to the grand jury and she was the one that brought the gun into the club. Can you go more into detail about that? Why you feel that way?
So no, Little Rod in his lawsuit said that Puffy told him that he fired the gun, that he shot me in the club, and that J-Lo had the gun, carried the gun into the club for him. Just like Cassie said, he made her carry guns in. And just like other people said, he made them carry guns. This is his tactic to bully people. So I reacted off of what they said. Now, I know for a fact she lied to the grand jury because she acted like she didn't know what he did. J-Lo was caught in that speeding SUV away from the club, flying through red lights like they don't mean a thing, like red lights don't exist. And the cop back then reported, and it's in the media, it's in the news, it's in the trial transcript. He said he saw a gun thrown from the vehicle as the vehicle sped away and they were chased by the cops, and it looked like a female hand. That's what the cop said. Not the least of which is the complexion of J-Lo's hand is far different than Puffy's complexion in size and color, is different than Wolf's. He's a lighter hue, but he's not a white-skinned Latina like J-Lo. He might have been lighter complected, but you could tell the difference between a toasted almond complexion and a white hand. Also, he's far bigger. It wasn't Wardell Fenderson, who was the driver. It didn't come out his side. The only people in the car were Puffy, J-Lo, Wolf, Wardell Fenderson, the innocent driver, who also said during the trial, I saw him with a gun. I saw him. Not the least of which is, during the trial, when they ran ballistics, it came out, the gun that was thrown out the window of the speeding car, a speeding SUV, the gun that was found in the SUV, the gun that was found in Shyne's waist soon as he ran out of the club, were all three Smith & Wesson Model 915 guns loaded exactly the same with hollow point bullets stolen from Atlanta, Georgia, 6 months earlier. This is in trial transcripts. This is in the media. People reported on it back then. Why nobody want to touch that? See, what's happening is people don't want to touch things that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt make him absolutely guilty, because all of those other people had a hand in this game. They had a hand in reaping the benefits of him being in the industry and being who he was. And now that as they say on the internet, he must have missed an Illuminati payment. All of a sudden, he is persona non grata and nobody cares anymore. But before, everybody was sliding in the whole plate coming to his rescue. What happened? I didn't make this the way it was. Before, he could do no wrong. Where is all his compadres that were all too happy to jump into a flick with him? Where they at? It looked like they somewhere saying, not going to be able to do it. Where they at? This ain't about me. I was just a pawn in whatever their game was. One thing I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, and no one can challenge me on, because the history is there to prove it. The people in the City College basketball incident, which I was supposed to go to, they died. 9 people died, or 10 people if you count the baby. And he changed his name. That happened in December. A few years later, I get shot in a nightclub, me and Julius. And I guess they thought we was going to die, but we didn't. And he changed his name. Every time he needs to elevate and get to a next level, something happens, somebody has to bleed, and he changes his name. I ain't make this all up. I'm just laying the facts out. You do the work and put it together. I'm just telling you what is. See, the difference about present and history is it already happened in history. You cannot argue me down on the merits of it or the semantics. It already occurred. Go and look at his reputation. This is what goes down. This is what it is. I just happen to be someone thrust into it against my will. I'm not making things up here. I'm stating facts. Some people may not like how they sound, or it may not comport with the message or the trope that people are trying to espouse, but too bad for you. It's facts is facts. It's the past. It already happened. You can't change it.
Yes, indeed. And you made a comment, right, on a news platform. I forgot the platform it was, but you made a comment saying that you was willing to remove bullet fragments from your face to prove that, Diddy shot you.
Well, one of the bullets, so I have a bunch of bullet fragments, like I said, here, some here. The biggest one is right here under my optic nerve, which is right where the entry point was. It broke my cheekbone, it broke my nose. My nasopharynx was torn out. I've had a host of medical problems. If I can take a bullet out to give to ballistics so that they can prove it was him, beyond a shadow of a doubt, take that mug. Take it. That's how 10 toes down I am on this. A lot of people like to say, oh, she don't got no proof. Oh, why she speak up back then? What? I was the star witness for the trial. Johnny Cochran questioned me for eons and literally looked me in my face and was like, walked over to Ben Brofman, tapped him and said, you try. Because he could not shake me or make me take back. I mean, they were asking me multiple choice questions. Like, so on the 3rd of the month, when you had on that red shirt, did you in fact go to the restaurant, this and that? I would say, for the first part of your question, no, it wasn't the 3rd of the month. It was the 4th of the month. These are just examples. And yes, when I had on the red shirt, no, I didn't go anywhere. And for your third part of it, I would break down each part of the question. They were like, who the hell is she? Because everybody else, they were like, so what you're telling me is on the 3rd, when you had on that red shirt and you went to the store, you saw him. And people would be like, yes. Now you done answered 3 questions with 1 answer. So when they come back to you, you look like a liar. They couldn't pull that on me. I would say, so the first part of your question, when you asked me what day of the week it was, you said it was the 3rd. Absolutely not. It was the 4th. For the second part of your question, when you said that I had on a red shirt, yes, in fact, my shirt was red. I remember it vividly. And for the third, and I would break each question down. They were sick of me. They hated me, because I am that kind of detailed individual. That's who I am since I was a child. That's who I am. I'm sorry if that disturbs people or it doesn't seem real. Step your cookies up. That ain't got nothing to do with me. This is who I am.
The City College incident, right? I had no idea because you made a comment about it earlier. You were supposed to be there?
I was supposed to go. I was a regular teenager in New York going to an event. It just so happened my mother said to my sister, if she doesn't, we have mama, you know how black mamas are. If your sister ain't going, you ain't going. I wanted to go, and because at the last minute I was like, I don't want to go no more. Because at the last minute I said I didn't want to go, my sister couldn't go, and she was livid. I remember vividly, she got so mad she went up in my room and took her hand and smacked everything off my bookshelf because she was pissed off. She had already told her friends she was going to meet them. She had plans, this, that, the other. And because I wouldn't go, she couldn't go. She was upset. So help me God, when the news started rolling in about what happened, it was a whole different story. I come from a West Indian family. If your mother say no, it's no. It ain't no, but I want it, but no. Why you mad? I'm glad I didn't go. I wanted to go. I'm glad I didn't go. But that would have been 2 times in my life where I would have crossed paths with something that ended in somebody's death. Thank God I didn't go. Listen, had I gone to that and then also gone to this and this happened to me, I'd probably be a nervous wreck. And it doesn't mean I haven't dealt with anxiety and all that, because this is a rough situation to deal with. A lot of people have their judgments and their, comments and their thoughts. But listen, being shot outside of the death of Biggie and Tupac, it is the biggest story in the history of hip hop. Tell me another one bigger, other than Biggie and Tupac. There is no bigger story. I am relegated to a part of pop culture. I don't want to be known as the woman who got shot by Puffy, but I don't get a choice in that. This is God's will. God's will be done. But if that is what society and God and the universe relegated me to, why should I sit quiet and not speak truth to power? For me to stay silent allows him to continue to go forth in this world and do harm. I spoke vehemently loud to everyone who had ears to hear. and they didn't want to hear. They didn't want to acknowledge it. And they let it slide and look at all the other people who suffered in the wake. You think everybody that says something about him is making it up? Come on now. Why? What do they have to gain? What is there to gain by someone making up this crazy? Now, it's not to say people don't make things up, but something to this degree with this amount of proof. I mean, hello, I got 9 bullet fragments in my face and head. What am I making shit up for? Who got time for that? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. And you said one of the bodyguards that was at the club lied for Diddy, right?
She lied. She even came to the trial and tried to lie. And then there's a reporter out there who years after the trial finished, he literally went out and did his own investigative story and started looking up how this particular girl, Shyne Myers, how she was like broke and about to get evicted and her accounts were overdrawn and all this stuff. And then next thing you know, she's swimming in cash and she's testifying in the case for Diddy. Oh, I fell on top of him when I know he didn't shoot because I fell on top of him and I covered him with my body to make him safe. Child, use a whole lie. First of all, no disrespect. My sons are big guys. Hear me clearly. If Shyne Myers fell on that floor on top of somebody, she can't get herself up. She can't. So anybody who tells you that stinking lie, you could see through that lie. Ray Charles could see through that lie. She a liar. She lied her behind off, and everybody, no one else story was able to match her story. Nobody. No one else said, oh, yeah, that girl fell on top of him. Please. There were people that told the district attorney up front, oh, yeah, I saw him. He had a gun and I saw him fire the shots. And by the time the trial ran around, they were all terrified. Remember, in discovery, the district attorney has to give names to his attorney. They have to exchange discovery, who you intend to call. If it's your people's intention to keep you free, they're going to start reaching out to the people on that list. You ain't see nothing. Take this money, go sit down. You think people not going to do it? If people struggling in their life and they going through, you think they're not going to take the money and sit down? Because who's coming to rescue them after the fact? Nobody.
Yeah, they'll definitely take the money. What you think about Kim Porter's situation?
I think it's very unfortunate. And I want to say, like I say all the time, but I want to make it totally clear. I feel sorry for Kim Porter. May she rest in peace. I feel sorry for Cassie. By the grace of God, she was able to survive and move on to peace and joy in her life. And I thank God for that. And I pray that she doesn't let the naysayers get in and steal her joy. By the grace of God, she survived when many other people did not. I am so sorry that Kim Porter had to endure what she did. I am so sorry that she fell in love with somebody who didn't have her best interests at heart. I am so sorry that her children had to suffer the indignity of knowing the things they know about their father and having lost their mother. I'm so sorry for that. Because just like I was a victim of his, so was she. So were all these other people. And none of us deserved it. Really and truly, he could be a case study. If there's a psychologist out there or maybe some university, study the history of this man and try to get down to what caused this. This is some severe moral degradation. Find out what caused it and perhaps study how we could prevent this from happening again in history, because it's ugly and it's bad. I told you after I made that TikTok, I was at the gas station one day. I couldn't pay for my gas. And it wouldn't let me sign into my card. It wouldn't let me sign into my app. Or it wouldn't let me sign into my app. I couldn't get any of my banking information. And all of my cards kept decline. Every card I had. My daughter had to end up paying for it. She had money on her card and she paid for it. It's craziness. She's a teenager. And listen, there was a time early on when I first got shot where they would use the people that they were connected to and know to try to elicit negative statements about me. Even there was a time where the Imus in the morning show, Don Imus called me a one-eyed hoe. My mother told me, don't watch the urban stations, watch somebody else, listen to something else. He called me a one-eyed hoe. I'm not a one-eyed hoe. I have both my eyes. Everybody's story was she got shot in the cheek, she got shot in the nose, she got shot in the mouth, her nose is torn off, she got shot in the eye. It was 50 million stories. Star and Buck Wild made jokes about it. Who is this chick? Who is this chick? Tell us who she is. anybody got any dirt on her and played rapid gunfire, brap, brap, brap in the background. That they got suspended for that. They had already done some airplane crashing noise with Aaliyah and got suspended for that. They ended up getting suspended for what they did. Like, at some point, we have to use a modicum of respect and integrity in journalism and reporting and all that stuff. Everybody had some little slick thing to say. Why? Why are we music and artistry and any industry thing that requires fans so that this thing can move forward and for the artist to make money? If you require, this is a mutually beneficial relationship. You produce your art form. We are the purveyors. We are the purchasers. We like it. We support you. You get money. You keep elevating. You make more music. It's mutually beneficial. Why the hell are we sanctioning letting artists abuse the very people that they need to keep going? Why are we sanctioning an industry that would empower them to do the things that they do, to take advantage of us, to then come back and support them some more until they get to the next person and the next person? Anybody ask themselves why? It's like a 3-card money game. Find the red card, find the red card. You got to put your money up, and then you swore you saw the red card under there, and then as soon as you put your money up, they done did the 52 fake out, and now it's gone, and they took your money. Why are we allowing this industry to use us to be the purveyors of the artistry and to be victimized by the artists? What? Like, come on. I'm not making this up. History shows it. Didn't 9 people die at Travis Scott? What is it always with this 9 and 9? What's with these numbers and all this stuff? Like, come on. Let's ask the tough questions. Let's ask these hard questions. You ain't going to be the cause and the cure. All you got to do is be right. Act right. We want to enjoy your gift. We want to enjoy what you're bringing to the world. But why must we also be victimized by it? What is this sick thing? And then if you victimize and you stand up and you say something, everybody's mad. Like, get it together. What is it going to be? Because it's not like we don't know that a lot of the moral degradation of our society is tied to this music industry. We know that.
Yeah, we definitely know that. If you don't mind, can you break down everything that you went through after you got shot? Because I know you was telling me that a whole lot of weird stuff was happening to you, like your tire going flat and your credit card's not working.
It's so much. And I've said it before on other podcasts. It's so much. Like, my tire being damaged or shot out or busted out for some way. I'm driving and then the tire just explodes. Why? I had a BMW 535i GT, a Gran Turismo, the ultimate driving machine. I bought it certified pre-owned, top of the line. It wasn't even old. Why on earth is my car having all these problems? I didn't get my car serviced at Joe Schmo. I got it serviced at the dealer. They kept saying, what are these wacky things that keep happening? I had a service technician ask me, do you have a crazy ex-boyfriend? Because it was crazy stuff was happening too much. Now, when a mechanic asks you if you have a crazy ex-boyfriend, they see that somebody's messing with your car. Come on, like, it's just too many things. Too many wackadoodle crazy things that make no sense keep happening. Why? Why? It doesn't make sense. I'm not out here wilding. You would have a litany of people saying, oh, I know her. We had the only thing that they could get when they said that on Star and Buck Wild, some girl called and was like, oh, I had a fight with her in the 2nd grade. Really? Well, you came to, the internet with that story? You had a fight with me in the 2nd grade? And what bearing does that have on the fact that I got shot in the face by somebody? They could not produce anybody who could tear me down the way they wanted to happen. And why do you need that to be a thing? You victimized me. You shot me. My mother told me when I was little, when you make a mistake, accept responsibility, apologize, show contrition, move on, do better. That's basic stuff we learn in pre-K. If you make a mistake, do better. Say sorry and move on. Almost 25 years, and this man still hasn't apologized? Shyne gave an apology, but not directly to me. The same way you can talk to the internet, you can talk to me. Excuse me, you can talk to me, but they haven't done so because guilty people never admit what they did. When he thought he was throwing Puffy under the bus, he was all too happy to say, yo, I bust my gun. I fired my gun. It was self-defense, all this stuff. Yeah, right. You said all of that, but now when you want to be the prime minister, you said, I didn't do anything. I was a scapegoat. I was a young guy, and them was making me a scapegoat. Like, yo, you switching up accents like thoughts switch their panty liners. Like, come on. Who are you? Who's the real Shyne? You keep switching up who you are for the sole purposes of trying to espouse whatever you want to espouse. Let the people of Belize hear me clearly. Shyne, Jamal, Moses, Michael, Levy, Barrow fired his gun in Club New York on December 27th, 1999. And he shot my brother, Julius Jones. While he may not be my blood brother, he is my brother from God. He shot him. Sean, P. Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Love, this, that, you know, whatever name you want to put, shot me in my face on December 27th, 1999 in Club New York. That's it. That's the whole truth and nothing but it. For those of you who have support and love, I appreciate you wholeheartedly. For those of you who want to continue to play in somebody's face, go find somebody to play with. I'm sorry for you that you cannot take reality and adjust yourself and your cognition to that. But what happened is what happened. You cannot change the past. It existed already. Because trust me, if it was possible to change it, I would have changed it a long time ago. I would have rather not have to live my life with lead in my body. Lead is toxic. Lead is dangerous. Lead can break down your ability to have speech and cognition and mental acuity and all of that. I don't ever want to get to that point. But the reality of life is I have reckoned myself with the notion that it may happen sometime in the future. I have had that talk with my family. If there is a time where I cannot articulate for myself and espouse, I will always talk to you with my eyes. And when God takes me home, I'm always still here with you. I've had that talk with my kids. Had to have it a long time ago. By the grace of God, I'm 24 years in and I'm still fine. In spite of all the medical issues I have. I didn't just get shot. I also got trampled. I also had to have I tore my medial meniscus. I was trampled that night. I have problems with that. You feel arthritis where you had a break. Like, come on. Have some empathy. People get stuck on one iota of what happened and that's where they hang their hat. That's the hill they want to die on.
Yeah, that's real talk. So before we end this interview, right, with everything that you went through, what do you want to see happen to Diddy?
I want him to be brought into account. I want him to face the reality and face criminal prosecution for what he did. I want him to be held accountable for everything he did in life. Since you were able to do all these things and they have benefited you in life and it made you able to ascend in the recording industry and have all this countless money and access to resources and wealth and all this stuff, everybody got to pay the piper. I didn't make that up. That existed before I was born. You gotta pay the piper. If you lie with dogs, you rise with fleas. I want him to go to court. I want him to be criminally charged with every nefarious thing he did that they can dig up on him. I want everybody to feel empowered to come out and speak truth to power for how he victimized them. I mean, come on. You got the UCLA coach that didn't put his son in and he beat him with a kettlebell. You got Steve Stout, who he beat like a dirty, rotten scoundrel, broke his arm, hit him with champagne bottles and chairs and all type of stuff and broke his arm. I'm not saying things. Steve Stout got beat up in August 99. I got shot. What was it? August or April? I got shot in December 99. He got beat up a few months before. Puffy did it. It's irrefutable. These are not things I'm making up that nobody knows about. Countless people in society know about him. Why do we keep hiding his stuff? What about the guy G, who was supposedly shot while he was in the bathroom with Puffy, his son, and G in the bathroom at the studio, shot? What did they say? Oh, it was somebody in the street that got shot. He ran in the studio. Through all them locked doors? I used to go to the studio. You cannot enter a studio without being buzzed in, or most establishments like that. But y'all let them tell y'all he came up off the street and ran through all these different security points and all these locked doors and got to the bathroom in the inner sanctum of a studio. How, Sway? How? A lot of people like to take Kanye for a madman, but he is brilliant if people take the time to listen. There are a lot of times that he says problematic things, and I'm not going to swear for everything he said. He said a lot of problematic things in his life. However, when he sat on the Drink Champs and he said, oh, they sent you, your people, your rich baby daddy and all the people sent you to pull my coat. That's why he said, I want to say right now, F y'all. And then he said, now let me say it calm, F y'all. He said, that's why you was up in the club, rah, 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 busting shots, and you could come back and make all this money and keep. He was talking about me, my case. He was talking about Puffy being able to come, shoot up the club, shoot me, and still get away with it and keep ascending in the record company. And he said, they sent you to pull me, to pull my coat and bring me down. People have ears. Anything I've said is provable. Go back in the internet and look it up. Everything I said can be proven. Go back in the internet and look it up. It can be proven. It's irrefutable. There are other people who have said it. There is documentation all the way back down the line, 24 years. You just got to look for it. There's something called the Wayback Machine for things that are archived and pushed out of the internet. When you Google stuff, don't just settle on page 1 and page 2. You might have to go to page 27 to find it. Go do the work. Go look. Instead of coming on the internet, typing, why she ain't say nothing when the trial was going on? Why she ain't say nothing? Why she ain't make a post on social media back then to bring it out? You mean the social media that didn't exist? Well, I will gladly do that for you. If someone would give me the access to the time machine so I can go back in history, I will create Twitter and Facebook ahead of time, invest all my money in it so I can be a quadrillionaire, and I'll say what happened to me on that. And then I'll come back to the present tense and let's see what you say then. Outside of that, it's not possible. Perhaps in a parallel universe, in a tear in the time and space continuum. But in this reality, in this incarnation, social media didn't exist then. I said it back then to all parties involved. I testified in the criminal trial. I testified in everything. I won a settlement against him. Where would that come from if I was making stuff up? Why would he settle with me? For something like that? You're going to settle somebody saying you shot them in the face if it never happened? Come on now. How, Sway? How? Who's going to do that? Think about it. And while I asked for the settlement, the confidentiality clause on my settlement amount, I asked for that. I said, I will not settle unless no one can discuss the amount. The club owner came right out 3 days later and said it all. Everything. Over the years, they've tried to, she under a gag order. She can't speak. Your mama's under a gag order. I'm not under nothing. I asked for the confidentiality and it was broken instantly. There is no gag order. You can't gag order me. You know who could gag order me? Yahusha and Yeshua. God. Everybody else, go kick rocks. Go kick rocks. You cannot make me silent. You got a problem with what I say? Take it to the altar. It's above. I'm going to speak truth to power. God left me here whole, of sound mind and body, with a mouth to speak, and I'm going to use it. I don't care who has a problem with it. If you have a problem with it, go take it to the altar. That ain't my concern. I appreciate you, Art. Thank you so much for giving me a platform. This needs to be said. And like I said, I'm going to come back better. I'm going to build back better. I'm going to bring my brother to come back and let y'all hear it from his mouth of who shot him, because he knows who shot him. I know who shot him. We all know, but I'm going to let my brother come back and say it. Then what you going to say? Then what they going to say?
It's going to be hard to say anything.
I'm sure somebody in the nether reaches of the internet will find something to say. But we just going to bless their little heart. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I know this sounded cantankerous and stuff, but I'm so sick of the internet and people out there And I'm so sick of what my family and friends have to go through. And I'm so sick of people calling me saying, oh, I had to argue with these people on the internet because they were saying all this stuff about you. And I tell my friends, don't let them steal your joy. Don't do it. So I'm here to answer everything. That's why this one sounds a little more froggy. And I'm going to be that if I need to.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes it got to be like that, man. Natania Reuben,
Yeah.
appreciate you, man. Words can
Hmm.
explain how much I appreciate you
Thank
for
you.
coming on the platform and sharing your story.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. Thank you. And thank you for bringing these topics to bear. Thank you for giving people a platform to speak, because everybody who does the job that you do is not interested in authenticity and the truth. A lot of people are interested in clickbait. A lot of people are interested in just, running their numbers up so that they can get the money. But I appreciate you being a platform of integrity and allowing people to have their say. Thank you so much for that. You are needed in this space, and continue to do it. It matters.
I appreciate that. That's love, man. So before we end this interview, anything else you want to say?
I want to say, I've talked a few times, and I want to say thank you to my family. I want to say thank you to my mama, my children. My sons were 7 and 10 when I got shot. They will be 32 and 35 this year. And I thank them, because I have to say, those young men raised me. When times where I couldn't stand 10 toes down and be their mother because of all of my medical things, God empowered them to step in and be my father. My sons fathered me until I was capable of mothering them again. And I'm so eternally grateful to them. And I sometimes we don't give people their flowers enough. I want to say thank you to my mother, my sisters, my cousins, my everybody, my friends that stood 10 toes down. I keep talking about my friends, Tish and Carla. Let me tell you something. You need a Tish and a Carla in your life. Tish came when all the fanfare and all the cameras went away. Tish came. Tish would pick my children up, take them out to the movies, let them still be kids so that they didn't have to be mired in all of this stuff. Tish would come and load up my laundry basket and go to the laundromat, wash my clothes. Tish would grocery shop. Tish would clean my house. Tish would cook and tell my sons, microwave this on Monday, this on Tuesday. Tish did it all. Everybody needs a Tish in their life. I'm telling you, that's what the new thing should be. You need a Tish. Hashtag you need a Tish in your life. My homegirl Carla, always there. Always there. I also owe an amazing apology to my friend Big Stacy, and I will continue to say it until Stacy hears me and sits down with me. I saw Stacy 2 years ago when I was in New York. We were about to go to Martha's Vineyard, and me and my mother were in Manhattan. She was running an errand, and I heard a voice, and I was like, Stacy? And I hadn't seen Stacy since that night. Stacy drove me to the club. Remember, I was going to the party with Big Stacy to promote her event. And I was like, Stacy, and I was so happy to see her. And she was like, how dare you? You never let me know you were okay. You never called me again. I took you to the club and you got shot and I never heard from you again. And I was so mired in my own suffering and my own healing journey that it never occurred to me that my friend was out here in the world suffering, because she took me to a fate that none of us could even fathom. And she had never heard from me again. And I am so sorry. She was angry with me. And at first I was like, why is she angry with me? But I had the time to think, and I totally understand what trauma she must have endured for 20 something years, not knowing what happened to her friend. Remember, I moved from New York abruptly. It wasn't in my mind. If the district attorney moves me, I'm not thinking about, let me call this person, nobody's supposed to know where I am. It never occurred to me that my friends were suffering. And I owe you an apology, Stacy. I love you like there is no tomorrow. I want to say a shout out to Red and Keisha. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to Scar. Thank you for all of my friends that stood by my side. Like I said before, I had a few girlfriends I found out. They was like, oh, girl, we didn't believe you because we thought you was just, we was like, why would he be thinking about you? And I was more hurt that they didn't believe me. I was like, y'all didn't believe me? It sounded crazy, girl. We just thought you was talking. My heart was broken. Not because of what happened to me, because they didn't believe me. What the hell do I have to make that shit up for? For what? You know how many things are going on in this world? Who cares about making something up. Like, why would I need to do it? I tell you, I was more heartbroken at the fact that they admitted that they didn't believe me. And guess who was the first people to call me when it came out? Girl, you told us that. You said that. Oh my God, you was right. Oh my God. What? You didn't realize I was right until it came out from Cassie saying it and Little Rod saying it? You had no reason to think that I was lying to you. Why did you think that? Why do I have to stop? I want to say to people out there in the world, stop sanctioning and giving credence to what someone you love says once somebody who's famous says it. Believe them. Believe them. And who in your life right now is telling you somebody harmed them, somebody did something foul to them, and because you think that person is of a higher status or a higher echelon or a different plateau in life, you're disregarding them. Look around your life and see who is crying out for help now and hear them now, so you don't have to spin the block later and be like, yeah, you told me, because you are making them suffer unnecessarily. And that person who is harming them will go on to harm others because you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't listen. And that's probably the best thing I could say. Who are you disregarding in your life right now? Give them the respect to be heard. Don't use your life as the litmus test by which you judge somebody's honesty and authenticity. Use their honesty and authenticity and what they're telling you as the litmus test to judge what they've endured. Stop giving people that's famous or higher echelon, or he got more money than you, so why would he lie? People lie every day. You got rich people that lie on broke people every day. And that's what I have to say. Who are you disavowing in your life?